everything like Stanford used to be, and to a point it still is, like a real powerhouse, but football has dropped off. Is that a fair assessment?
Sure.
Okay, so football has dropped off. What are some of the things that you have in play or in place to get Stanford back up on the food chain and being a regular contender inside the ACC and beyond?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and look, it's why I'm back, right? Us dropping off is in large part why I'm back here on the farm, at a place that I certainly feel like home. I'm quite proud of the work we did as a program last year. I mean, Frank Reich came in as an interim head coach, and Coach Meyer knows this. In college, you don't do interim coaches, right? There's recruiting, there's a whole there's you just don't do it. But Frank came in and gave our team, our program, a version of ministry, right? We needed to get back on the right foot. We ended with more wins than the previous season for the first time since 2015, right? Which was a great Christian McCaffrey year. And we're marching forward. We have a brand new staff. Tavita Pritchard, head coach, has done a fantastic job assembling our staff. Chris Richard's our defensive coordinator, who's probably most famous for the Legion of Boone defenses in Seattle with Pete Carroll, which it's hard for a Stanford program to have anything with Pete Carroll associated with it, but we got Chris Richard. We got Chris Richard. Tavita's put a heck of a program together. The people make the program. I'm proud of our roster retention. We lost so few guys to the portal. We retained our older players, and older football is a hard game, Rob. It is a hard game. It's not a contact sport. It's a collision sport. I'd actually be curious, Coach Meyer, how you are taking what I'm saying. I'll ask for some advice here. But in college, I mean, talent wins and older guys win. Older guys have scars. They know how to get back up. They know how to receive and give punishment. And so we made it a point of emphasis to retain our guys. And we did. Had a heck of a recruiting class. A bunch of freshmen just started. They look like young pups on the farm taking their shovel to the face, which is a great rite of passage in college football. And I'm excited, man. Hope springs eternal here on the farm. I'm excited about the work we're doing. We know there are no shortcuts. We know we have our work cut out for us, but couldn't work with a better group of men, women, and couldn't be more proud of our locker room right now.
Well, great seeing you, Andrew. Thanks for joining us. I got two questions. One's just the structure of what's going on at Stanford before we go dive into the football piece. But this GM role surfaced about 4 or 5 years ago in college sports. And I remember I actually had some schools come ask me if I'd be interested in doing that. I asked the question, what do they do? And because I understand, the GM role in the NFL, a lot of times there's two different, two separate entities in the NFL. One handles the roster, one handles the on-the-field product. But I guess the big question is, and that's what came to me, and I hear a lot of the coaches talk about this, when you have a GM, what's the hierarchy? Because it's always been president, AD, coach. And then all of a sudden this GM person shows in. What are you comfortable talking about the hierarchy at Stanford?
No, we've been quite public about it, and I think we're different than most. Maybe unique in that we have a president who really created this job for me, recognizing that the world was changing in college football, that we at Stanford had been in this previous sort of contemporary slow to adapt to the world, and we needed a jolt, and we needed an assertive step, we needed a proactive step. So he created the general manager role on the football team and plugged me in, and it sits on top of the football organization. So that is where we are unique, Coach Meyer. So the Tavita hire, the Frank hire, those were my hires. I led that. And now my direct boss is our athletic director, right? Rob, you mentioned we have an amazing athletic department, 36 sports, unbelievable. So my job, and I call John Lynch, I call Chris Ballard, NFL GMs all the time. They're mentors of mine. And I think I've come to realize my job description is probably more like a team president of football or an athletic director just for football. Yes, I get involved in recruiting, right? I love it. I love selling this place. I love finding unicorns with the talent and the intellectual curiosity, the GPA, the scores to come here and thrive. But it's also fundraising. It's telling a story. It's helping with organizational stuff. It's managing the NIL aspect of this all. And so we have a unique structure. I think it works. I'm not here to say the structure works at any other school. I just know what the context around Stanford and where we were as a program, I think absolutely demanded this structure. And I'm glad to be sitting in this seat.
So the template of Stanford, because when I was at Notre Dame, I mean, they were tough as hell. And then obviously with Coach Harbaugh, and then
Hmm.
Shaw came in there. I used to call Stanford a line of scrimmage team with a great quarterback.
Mm.
And that's pretty much the template that won for so many years. I was shocked when I started watching Stanford the last few years, and
Hmm.
the line of scrimmage was gone. And you got to get the great quarterback, but a great
Hmm.
quarterback with a soft offensive, with a soft
Yep.
line of scrimmage on both sides.
Hmm.
Where are we? I mean, is that obviously it's been addressed, and I
Yeah.
can tell you agree with me, but it's a line of scrimmage school with a great quarterback.
I like your perspective on this and feel incredibly similar. This is how Tavita and I think about football. There's very much the ethos of this. I mean, you go back to Bob Whitfield, right? Chris Dahlman, Eric Heitman, David DeCastros. Our offensive linemen have been unbelievable here. And the game, at least as I have intuited it, playing it and watching and being in this seat, the game begins and ends around the football. It's O-line, it's D-line, and it's quarterback, right? I mean, there is a nucleus around that ball. And so, yes, our focus is there. I am really excited for our O-line and D-line. And it a little bit goes back to older players. I imagine in your history in college football, coach, your best O-lines are probably your older O-lines, right? And D linemen. And they don't necessarily have to be the most talented, but O-line's odd. I always feel like O-line and DBs have a subculture within the culture of the team more than anybody else, right? Because O-line have to work as five as a unit. So I'm incredibly excited about it. Starting with our left tackle, Nicky Prongos, who returned to school, is finishing his mechanical engineering major, and he had second, third, fourth round grades from the NFL, right? He's a special dude. And we sleep a lot easier at night knowing you got a left tackle and on the other side, our right tackle Khalil House is coming back. He's close to a 30-game starter, I want to say, in college football, right? That matters, right? That matters. We've got some great competition interior. Simi Pale is close to over a 30-game starter in interior. Fisher Anderson, we Aiden Killstrom from Harvard's come in as a transfer. Zion Brown, we have. What I'm excited about, and it's not just 3, 4, 5 guys, right? I think we've got 10 guys, 12 guys, 13 guys, including these freshmen coming in. That'll give us a chance. Terry Heffernan's our offensive coordinator. He's an O-line coach. Kali Kekaweva is our O-line coach. He came from the NFL, and we hired Tavita Thompson from Ohio University. So in the building, we have 3 guys who have run O-line rooms, right? The investment has to be there.
What's the feedback you're getting from your alumni base? I think there's a lot of people that'd be like, man, I would love to tap into Stanford and get some of that NIL money from those alums that are out there and the success that they have had out in the real world. What are they asking of you, and what do they want now from Stanford football?
No, our alums are a very special part of what makes this place magical, right? Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, San Francisco, San Jose. It's in large part why I'm back, because I knew we had an ecosystem where we could be successful, including all the dimensions: mentorship, internships, people, and NIL, revenue share, right? And so fundraising has gone well. I'm seeing people buy in. Stanford, we know we're different. We know we're a little bit different than everybody else. And one of the things we tell ourselves is, yeah, we're built different to be different. We're not going to win a conference championship or a national championship by trying to beat some of the bigger schools, the bigger state schools, Ohio State, by copying Ohio State. We have to find who we are, including in this world today, go find talent, the kids that fit, and win that way, right? And win in a way that you turn the TV on, Rob, you turn it on, coach, you say, oh, that's Stanford football. I recognize that. I feel that. That's different. And our alums have been incredibly helpful, including the ones that live within 5, 10, 15 miles of this campus. And I mentioned John Lynch. Shoot, I call John once every other week for advice. He comes up into our building. He helps out. He comes to fundraising events. I had him and Christian McCaffrey and John Lynch and I and our head coach sitting talking in front of people. That's a good time.
Yeah.
People want that.
I would think so. So you bring up John Lynch. That's the second time you brought him up.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice he's passed on to you?
Oh man, learn. Just keep learning. Ask questions. And John is God, like he's a tough MFer, man. Like I grew up watching him.
Oh,
right?
I covered him with the Buccaneers when I was doing local TV in Tampa. But he was a great interview that played with a lights out mentality. You didn't want to be around him, but people would gravitate. Like you could see the intelligence, you could see the future that was destined for him.
Yeah, no, and his humility and willingness to share, especially I'm new into this. Like, this is the first office I've ever had in my life. Like I played quarterback. I'm in many ways a child, in this whole thing, and surrounded by a bunch of great folks. But John's willingness to share with me has been unbelievable. Asking a lot of, especially doing a head coach search and listening to him about his experience when the Niners were hiring him as GM. As you guys might remember, it was that hire was at that same time as they were hiring the head coach, right? And so his experience there was really helpful in thinking about how we structured our head coach hiring process. So just grateful for John. What a legend. A lot of fun to be around.
Every time I was hired, Andrew, I'd sit with whether it be Gene Smith or Chris Hill at Utah, and we'd sit, when we're hired, and then we go through spring, and then we'd have that preseason meeting. And here you are in it's still unbelievable to say this, Stanford in the ACC, traveling across the country, playing teams like Wake Forest and North Carolina State. But what's the expectation level? What's a good year? I mean, I know what a great year is. I think playoffs and all that. What's Andrew Luck going to say to your head coach and say, okay, this is kind of what we're thinking? Yeah, because that's important for a head coach to hear that from his boss.
We had Tavita. Look, part of the beauty, Tavita and I have such history. I mean, we came in, we were teammates together, so we started as teammates, but competing for the spot. Right? He held me off for a year. I redshirted and ran scout team with a lot of pride. My freshman year, and then I beat his ass out and got the job. And all he did was support me, Urban. You know what I mean? Like he had my back. And you've been around amazing quarterbacks. Quarterback can also be a lonely position, whether it's going really well or really poorly. And I've always been appreciative for an older player who got beat out, who was a 20-plus game starter, just having my back. So Tavita and I have a history really built on trust. And so I talk to him before bed more than I talk to my wife, right? But before going to sleep. And what is a good year? What is a great year? We certainly have goals. Like we have to keep improving. We had 4 wins last year. We need more wins than the previous year, right? Let's go get to a bowl game. Rivalry games matter. Part of what I'm so proud about last year is our guys beat Cal for the first time. I think in 5 years, there were only 2 guys in our locker, maybe only 1 guy that had experienced beating the rival. And what a Cardinal red and white team versus a blue and yellow team feels like, right? Like that matters. Steps forward matter. Now, so progress on the win front, bowl game. Let's go, right? Let's go. Now, what is almost way more interesting, though, is like, all right, what's our process to get there? What does a championship culture look like, feel like? What is it like to have the championship partnerships? What are we getting championship people in the building? Because winning and losing is an outcome, right? It's a consequence of a whole bunch of stuff, and so we have our goals, but man, like the magic, the work, like it's the process, and that's what gets me all tingly and fired up every day to come to work with these guys.
Curious how you're building the roster. If my math is right, you guys got 6 players out of the portal.
Yep,
that sound right? All right, so that's kind of on the low end of major programs. You were talking about retention, right? And being older. Look, all you need to do is look at the last 3 national champions and say, those 3 Big Ten programs were older teams that won the national title. So where does retention, the portal, and good old-fashioned high school recruiting, what is the pie chart of that right now, at least, and what do you want it to be going forward?
So we were stable in the portal relative to, I think, the rest of the country, right? And it's something with a head coaching change and close to 70% new staff. We I think I had developed a good enough sense of our roster to know that we have dudes, right? Dudes that can win game, and wanted to make sure we were keeping our dudes that had helped us take a step forward and that were part of a culture swing, right? Because last year was about a culture shock. And I came into Stanford. I committed to a 1-11 team, right? And Jim Harbaugh had just been hired, and our class committed to a 1-11 team. And I think part of our class just wanted to be somewhere where we were earning it, going in, and if you can get to the sweet spot, you knew you were part of something that earned it. So there's very much that ethos. So retention was huge. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the stability, even with the head coaching change. The transfer portal is an awesome tool. It's an awesome tool to help to get better, right? All of it has to be about getting better, whether it's injuries, guys leave early for the NFL, what have you. We will always still have a big place for old school, high school recruiting and developing, right? We talked about a little built different to be different. Our vision for this is we are a new school in the fact that we're going to lean into NIL. We'll lean into what what we can, what we will, what we're willing to do. And, we want our high school recruiting class to come in, and if there's 20 guys, man, play 4 or 5 years together, graduate, go to the NFL. Like the last wedding I was at was a Stanford teammate. There were 40 guys there, right? 40 teammates from a team at a wedding. Now, I might sound like the old guy just, yelling at himself in the trees, but like that matters. And it also matters because we won. We won an Orange Bowl. We went to the Fiesta Bowl. We're proud. I played with Richard Sherman. I played with Doug Baldwin, right? At Kobe. I played with like 6 NFL tight ends, while I was here. And we've had 14 NFL tight ends in the last 16 years. So I will throw a shot at Iowa that we are tight end you. We are.
Take that, Coach Ferentz.
With all respect, too. But we are. So the pie chart, look, we're leaning a new school, but hold some old school values, Rob, like culture, team building. And look, we had CJ Williams came to us as a transfer last year, played this season, did unbelievably, was second in the ACC with touchdowns, surprised everybody, crushed it, and gets drafted to the NFL, right? Completely off the radar. We know there's an awesome spot for transfers to come in and help us, and which we expect our transfers to.
My last question for you, Andrew, is so I was on that college football commission, still am, and was on a bunch of phone calls, meetings, including one at the White House. And it was pretty unanimous amongst the commissioners. The 4 commissioners were there. Obviously, you had some government people there. You had Cody Campbell, the booster at Texas Tech and chairman of the Board of Trustees. But it's pretty unanimous on NIL eligibility and transfer portal across the board about how to fix that. The question is not that. It's about, can you enforce rules that are on the books or that you're about to put on the books? How do you, in the seat you're sitting in, what needs to be fixed and fixed now? Or do you like it?
Ooh, Coach, every day that I am in this job, I have an awesome athletic director who is taking a lot of that burden of what needs to be fixed off me, who's engaging with, in the same circles that you are. President who cares, Dr. Condoleezza Rice, who is an unbelievable asset to our university, loves college football, loves watching O-line play because her dad was a high school O-line coach, and is involved in this world. So we Stanford have unbelievable representation, I think, in many of the rooms. But every day, I think I work in this job, the less I think about what needs to happen or should happen or ought to happen, and the more I think about what exists now, how do we win? How does Stanford win? How do we give ourselves a competitive edge? How do we get this recruit? How do we go win a ball game? So what needs to be fixed, should be fixed, ought to be fixed. I'll answer it in a bit of a sideways way, so forgive me for the backing away for the question, Coach. But I hope we don't lose some of what makes college football special. Like Oregon playing Oregon State is a really cool game. The Apple Cup in Washington is cool. I'm sad that the West Coast doesn't have a premier conference because that conference was awesome. I was part of it. It was great, right? Thankful to be in the ACC. It's awesome. But I hope we don't lose the rivalries. I hope we don't lose the rituals. I hope we don't lose the connective tissue that makes college football, like, it's big business. It's also silly. Like, a lot of it doesn't make sense, A lot of it's been built off of geographic rivalries. Like, And I love that. Like I love, growing up a college football fan. I grew up in Europe because my dad was working for NFL Europe, but I would turn Armed Forces Network on every Saturday, and all they showed was Penn State. So I hate Penn State because of that, right? Show me somebody else. Show me the Mountaineers. I want to see West Virginia. My dad played there. But there's so almost religious. College football, I think, is almost religious in its convening ability, its intergenerational connective tissue. And I know it's a little bit, I'm getting woo-woo on this, on you guys on it, but I hope we maintain some of that spirit. I really do. And like, a college scholarship is still an unbelievable human development vehicle, and especially, I mean, all across the continuum of sports. Like it trains leaders, right? And football, yes, is a little different. Maybe hoops is a little different because of how big the business is around it. But still, a college experience, I want to believe, can hold in appropriate tension the playing, the NIL revenue share, whatever the business aspect is, and a level of like transformation through education, learning, growing up, right? Like I certainly needed it, and still need it, but
yeah.
But
well
I
said.
hope it's there.
Well said.
Long-winded from
no,
me,
but you
Rob,
got there, and all the points were valid, and I agree with you. There is nothing like the college experience, and why are we hustling out, and why are we going to 4 places in 4 years, right? I love your wedding story, right? Because we've all have those wedding stories, right? If I get invited, like unfortunately now at my age, it's like my teammates' kids are going to get married soon, but it's going to be a bunch of teammates, and you want to see them. You don't want a bunch of these transfer portal guys that are gone, and they're not part of your university. They're not part of your family. They're not really part of your locker room to the extent that it used to be. So I'm with you on that one. I want to end with this because it makes me laugh and it makes me smile. The Captain Andrew Luck stuff, whenever I see it, and I know it hasn't been, I think that account hasn't been active for a couple of months, but like it literally puts a smile on my face. Do you remember where you were when you first saw it or heard of it, and what was your reaction to all that?
I believe I was still playing in the NFL. I did not have social media. I can't say I never had social media. I had Facebook for like 6 months as like a high school, college kid, and I was like, this is stupid. I don't like it. But so people, and I still had a flip phone when I was playing, but either my mom or some friends would sort of take like screenshots of these things and send it to me. And I really have appreciated the humor. As we know, the internet can be a cesspool of a lot of dark and weird things, and this just seems like good, clean, good humor. I like it. I have a bobblehead of it, Rob. I will send you one for bringing it up.
Who made the bobblehead?
We did at Stanford.
It was a Stanford giveaway?
It was a giveaway. It was a
great.
game giveaway, baby. I still got one. Where am I? Hold on.
Oh, that is so good.
Let's go deep. Here you go.
Oh, it's
Here's
right there.
Bobblehead box with a letter. I can
Can you read? Give me a couple of the best lines from that box. There's got to be some great ones, like "Dear Mildred."
My hand trembles in fervor as I write to tell you that while in preparation for upcoming battles, we have unearthed a most surprising bounty of relics. 20,000 by more precise count. All right.
I snorted. Oh my God, I love that stuff. I hope they come back. And we hope Stanford football gets back to where you want it to be. And
we're marching, baby.
It's
we're
in
marching,
good hands,
Rob.
man. Andrew, so good to see you, man. Enjoy the rest of the summer. Keep enjoying that World Cup too, my friend.
Oh, I love it. I feel like I'm best friends with you, Rob. I see you on TV like every day. Now I'm doing an interview. It's magic. How are you doing this? You get a day off, man?
It is even taken over Coach's life. Coach is even watching soccer and commenting.
You got Coach Meyer on soccer?
We got Coach every week.
I'm all over it.
For the last, 2 weeks, or 2 or 3
Most
weeks
soccer
on
I've
these
watched
shows, he's
in
talking about World
62
Cup.
years.
Hey, that's awesome. We're all still growing, Coach.
Yeah, you're welcome inside the tent, Coach. But me and Andrew are in here already. We're serving drinks too.
And Coach, I always, every time I see you, I bring up Jack Newhort, who used to tell Urban Meyer stories. My Indianapolis Colts teammate living in Toledo, Ohio, man. So Jack says, "What's up?"
He's the best.
Love it, Andrew. Thanks for spending some of your summer with us. Really appreciate it. Best of luck to you and Stanford going forward.